started. Welcome to the Preserves and Pixels, a virtual photo exhibit and panel discussion. I am so excited to be here tonight. We put a lot of work into this. My name is Ilana Fetterman. I'm the Outreach Manager for Friends of the Forest Preserves, and I am joined by some amazing photographers, some amazing people, and some wonderful lovers of the Forest Preserves. Tonight we have Jean Ayers, Rosie Callahan, Karina De Lorenzo, Christine Dewey, Janet Hagen, Carlos Milano, Michelle Pushka, and Maria Saja. Thank you all so much for joining me. They've put some hard work into this themselves. And thank you to our audience for spending the evening with us. Before we get started, I want to just go over a few housekeeping items. So we are filming this. This is being recorded and it will be uploaded to YouTube shortly after the presentation and shared across social media and our website. There will be music throughout the evening during the slideshows, so just be aware of that so that if you need to adjust your volume, you can do so since everyone's devices are different. We do have closed captioning for those who need it and are interested, but if it is appearing and it's a distraction, you can manually turn that off by going to the bottom of your screen. Most of you have your features at the bottom of your screen. Go to the CC icon where it says live transcript, and you can click the arrow and choose the option to hide subtitles. Now, feel free to make comments and chat in the chat box. We will be using both the chat box feature and the Q&A feature, but we'll be using those pretty literally. So you can chat and have conversations in the chat box, and when it's time to ask questions of the panelists, please do use the Q&A box so that we don't miss any of your questions. In that vein, if you want to chat, the default is to chat with the hosts and the panelists. So make sure you manually choose to chat with everyone. That's your option, to choose to chat with everyone. Now you can change the way you view all of us. So you can view just the host, me speaking, or all of the panelists all together. I would recommend starting with just viewing me, because that will allow your computer to have maximum space on the screen for the slides themselves and the photos. Once we get into the panel discussion and the Q&A session, then I would strongly recommend that you change your view to gallery, and that way you can see all of the panelists together, and it'll just be a much more exciting experience. Now your view feature might be on the top right of your computer. So I know I said most of your features are on the bottom. This one you might find on the top right, and that's where you can change those views. So I'd like to introduce my co-host, Sydney Armstead. She is the Engagement Program Manager at Friends of the Forest Preserves. She will be doing some light tech help. So we're not techies here, but if you do have a technical issue and you want to ask Sydney, go ahead and do that in the chat and just alert her that you're having an issue. Now, when we get to the panel discussion and the Q&A section, Sydney will be reading all of those questions, but again, use the Q&A feature so that she can catch all those. I am also joined by Benjamin Cox, the Executive Director of Friends of the Forest Preserves, and you'll hear a little bit more from him later. But first, I'd like to read our land acknowledgement. Give me 1 second to change my view. The Forest Preserves acknowledges that the Friends of the Forest Preserves acknowledges that the Forest Preserves in Cook County are located on the ancestral homelands of the Council of Three Fires, a long-standing Anishinaabe alliance of the Ojibwe or Chippewa, Ottawa or Ottawa, and Potawatomi North American Native tribes. These lands have also been home and a place of trade for many other tribes, including the Fox, Ho-Chunk, Menominee, Meskwaki, Miami, and Sauk people. For centuries, these Native Americans cared for and protected these lands until ownership was largely stolen from them by US colonizers. Today, we employ certain land management techniques that follow indigenous practices. However, our forest preserves and our communities would greatly benefit from more intentional application of Indigenous knowledge in how we manage and honor our protected areas. Chicagoland is home to one of the largest and most diverse urban Native American communities in the United States. Community members celebrate, practice, and adapt their heritage and traditions within our modern urban environment. It is our responsibility to find common cause with community members and support their engagement with the forest preserves. The Friends community is committed to intentional inclusion of Native American partners and their voices in our community through our advocacy and programming work. Supporting the forest preserves of Cook County and partner organizations' efforts to provide education and engagement opportunities honoring Native American heritage and modern culture. Advocating for the sound integration of sustainable use and management of the preserves by Native American community members. We ask you to offer gratitude, respect, and support to the many Native American people, including their ancestors, who consider the lands and water within Cook County sacred. And please join us in carrying on a legacy of respect and active caretaking of our earth for us and future generations. I am going to now pass this over to Benjamin Cox to speak a little bit more about Friends of the Forest Preserves and who we are and what we do. After that, we will have a slideshow of the 2020 photo contest winners, followed by our panel discussion and Q&A. Then we'll end the evening with a slideshow revealing the winners of the 2021 photo contest. So without further ado, Benjamin.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. I'm Benjamin Cox. I'm a conservationist, a great lover of the outdoors, a nonprofit professional, and I have the great pleasure of having been the executive director of Friends of the Forest Preserves for nearly 18 years now. And I want to take just a moment to share with you a couple of things. Friends is a advocacy organization. That's why we were started, to help the forest preserves do a better job and help bring resources to the table. And if you take nothing else away tonight, please know that these places are special and beautiful and wonderful, and that we should all be lifting them up with everyone that we know and celebrating them and helping them to know what a rare resource that we have. A couple of things I'll say is that, by size, the forest preserves are actually enormous. This forest preserve district is the first and the oldest in the country, and it's actually 2 years older than the National Park Service. It's nearly 70,000 acres, which an acre is about the size of a football field with the end zones. If you made them one piece of land, they'd cover up about half of the city of Chicago. They're almost as large as Arches National Park. Some people say they should be a national park, and they would be in the mid 40s on a list of 63 national parks. So they're bigger than more than 20 national parks. Just the Palos section alone at almost 15,000 acres is the same size as our nearest national park, the Indiana Dunes National Park. The other thing I would say is that they're home to nearly 200 threatened and endangered species, which sounds depressing, but it's actually positive in that those species have found respite in these forest preserves, and that the forest preserves are in that good of condition to be able to help to host those species so that they find a place to survive and to thrive. I just want to say thank you so much for all of you coming out tonight, and also really would love to take a moment to thank our photographers who submit for these contests. We love sharing your photos, and they really make our communications and our work of our community that much stronger by being able to share out beautiful images of the preserves in our newsletters and emails and on our website and our advocacy materials. And we just really couldn't do that without you as members of this community contributing. So thank you, and enjoy tonight's presentation.
Thank you so much. So Benjamin touched on a couple of the reasons why we do the photo contest, and I'm going to go a little bit more in depth about why we do a photo contest. So first and foremost, we want to spread awareness about the forest preserves themselves. We truly believe there is so much wonder and beauty and magic found in the forest preserves, And these photos are a testament to all of the amazing life that exists in those preserves. We also want to inspire people to action. We believe that protecting our forest preserves has global implications. When we restore our local ecosystems, we build resilience to the worst effects of climate change. So we hope that these photos give people a reason to care and an opportunity to join in our efforts in any way that they can. We also want to encourage art and expression. Art, just like nature, it enhances our lives in unimaginable ways. Through this contest, we honor the artistic talents of those in our community and the powerful connection between art and nature. And we also want to celebrate the accomplishments of our community. These photos capture the beauty that exists because of efforts of advocates and conservationists working together. So we honor them both past and present through these photos. So without further ado, I'm so pleased to present to you the winning photos of the 2020 photo contest. Enjoy.
I think it's time we found a way back home. You lose so many things you love as you grow. I miss the days when I was just a kid. My fear became my shadow, I swear it did. Wherever is your heart, I call home. Wherever is your heart, I call home. Though your feet may take you far from me, I know. Wherever is your heart, I call home. You made me feel like I was always falling down without a place to land. Somewhere in the distance, heard you calling. Oh, it hurts so bad to let go of your hand. Wherever is your heart, I call home. Wherever is your heart, I call home. Though your feet may take you far from me, I know. Wherever is your heart, I call home. Even when you're high, you can get low. Even with your friends you love, you're still alone. We always find the darkest place to go. God forgive our minds, we were born to roam. Wherever is your heart, I call home. Wherever is your heart, I call home. Though your feet may take you far from me, I know. Wherever is your heart, I call home. Oh God, forgive my mind. Oh God, forgive my mind when I come home. When I come home. Oh God, forgive my mind. There's a road that's long and wide and hollers home. I'm calling home. Oh God, forgive my mind. Oh God, forgive my mind when I come home. When I come home. Oh God, forgive my mind. Oh God, forgive my mind when I go home. When I come home. Wherever is your heart, I call home. Wherever is your heart, I call home. Though your feet may take you far from me, I know. Wherever is your heart, I call home.
I'm gonna let these play out. We had a glitch in the music. The timing got a little off, so we still have a few more left. Probably practiced that about 30 times today and it's still glitched, so apologies. We will have time to take another look at many of those photos during this panel discussion. So I want to start before you, the audience, starts asking the panelists questions. I want to start by asking my panelists a couple questions that they can choose to answer one or the other. The first question is, can you take us back to that moment when your winning photo was taken? What were you doing? What were you feeling? How did it come about? Or if you'd prefer, you could answer what is most inspiring about photographing in the forest preserves or in nature in general. So we will start with our first place winner, Karina, if you want to take it away.
Hi, everyone. My name is Karina. Very impressed by all the photographers here tonight. And it's very exciting to see that we all share such a great passion and being in the outdoors and whatnot. So I guess the question I'll answer is, what was I doing at this moment? So I do actually remember. We were actually in La Belle Woods looking for mink there, resident mink there. And we were looking along the river for where they hang out and swim. And it was starting to get dark and we were about to leave. And I looked just across the way and saw the great blue heron. You know, you see them everywhere. Still really nice to see. But the sun was going down and there was this beautiful glow just shining down, as you can see in the pictures at sunset. So I got lucky enough to where the light was just illuminating the heron perfectly. And I was able to snap it. I didn't really have high expectations for it, but once I got home and started looking through them, this was actually my favorite photo of the day. So I was really excited about it, and I'm very, very honored and thankful that I was part of the contest in 2020 for the 2020 batch, and I am very excited to see what the 2021 people have done this year.
Thank you. Okay, next we'll hear from Maria. Maria actually had second place and best flora. So maybe you can address like an eagle first, and then we can look at the best flora.
Okay, I guess I'm gonna go ahead and talk basically about what I love about nature and photography. First of all, I wanna say that I'm really honored, to win this contest. It's the first time for me that one of my photos are between winners, so I'm really happy. And what I can say, I'm a great lover of nature and photography. and just trying to combine these two loves. You can see what comes out of it. Some pictures that I really enjoy. Nature photography is just such a wonderful experience for me, and it brings so much joy into my life. It's just so relaxing and enjoyable. I love to escape to woods and look for some kind of beauty around me, some beauty that some people or even me, never see if you just go for a walk. But wherever I go with my camera, I try to look from a different perspective, and that gives me the chance to come up with some photos that I really enjoy later, looking at my screen and having this this wonderful pleasure to see it, and being so happy that I was able to capture the moment, the magic of something, what's happening around me. Like on the photo with the sunset, I can say that flowers and sunsets are my most enjoyable objects. And I live so close to the Bossy Woods, so wherever I see, if I see that something is going on with the sky, I just grab my camera and go. Sometimes, it looks, but it's gonna be a beautiful sunset, but all of a sudden it's nothing. It's nothing wonderful. It's still something, but nothing wonderful to capture. But sometimes you are really, really surprised, but what you can see later. What's really nice about nature photography is, for me, is that I can share it with other people, and with people that may not have a chance to see whatever I see by themselves. So it really, looking at the photos, it may encourage them to take a different look, what they can see around, and maybe care more about it, like our forests. I can say that sometimes I'm really surprised, but I've been to Bossy, for example, being to Bossy Woods so many times, and I always come up with something new. I find something new in the forest. So it's really nice. So I'm really glad to be with you guys here and enjoy the beautiful photography, beautiful nature. But I hope, I can still keep doing it and trying to get the beautiful Mother Nature on photos.
Thank you. Next, we're going to hear from Carlos. And Carlos was, he placed third as well as an honorable mention. So you can speak to both of them if you'd like.
Yes, thank you. So also very excited to be here and looking at everybody's pictures, so much talent here. It's pretty amazing. So I can speak to this photograph here first. What I was doing, I was basically exploring Bossy Woods, a place that I was not familiar with. So I just took one of the trails. I was not looking for anything in particular, just walking around, enjoying the day. And I heard the bird initially, and then I saw it. I couldn't believe that what I was seeing, because I had only seen them from a long distance. So, and this one was very close. I'd say it was about 20-25 yards away, and he was just looking for food in this trunk. So that was pretty interesting. So I started shaking, trembling. I don't know how I took these pictures, because I was just so excited to see the bird. I was kind of hiding behind a tree just so he didn't see me and just fly away. and I was able to take some pictures. So all in all, very, very exciting for me. And then the next picture, this was in Morton Grove at Lean Woods. And again, I was just exploring the place. I was not familiar with Lean Woods. It just so happened that my car dealer is in Morton Grove, and I dropped off the car for some service. And instead of waiting at the dealer, I just took off, and I saw that Forest Preserve was not far from there. I had my camera with me and then started walking around, just looking for whatever popped up. And I saw two of these bucks in there, and I was very surprised because they were pretty big. They were very friendly, just like standing there. And I just moved around trying to find a composition, something that I thought was nice. And I got this picture. So again, very friendly bucks, just stayed there, and it was very exciting. Just again, not expecting anything, but that's what I like about the forest preserves, that you just go for a walk and you never know what you're going to find, what you're going to see, what you're going to get.
Thank you. So next, we'll hear from Jean.
Hi, everyone. I can talk about remembering taking this photo because I remember it very well. It was sort of a challenging time in my life. And I decided I need a little more inspiration that evening. Instead of going to the usual forest preserves I go to, I looked on the map because I knew there were a few places in Palos I really hadn't, just gone to and, looked at very much. So I found this Camp Bullfrog Lake in like the Willow Springs Palos area, and I drove there. And it was a really hot night. It was about 7 o'clock at night, right before golden hour. And it had to be, it was over 90 and lots of mosquitoes. And I went to the parking lot and I had no idea what the place looked like. And above the parking lot, there was a little hill with a path going up, and I could hear some voices. So I went up the hill and I saw this big slough or pond in a lake, a pier, and a few little cabins and people sort of unpacking to camp for the night. And I could hear these two young ladies laughing and talking, and they were having such a great time. I walked over to the pier and they didn't mind that I took their photo, and they were really involved in just their conversation, and their feet were dipping in the water. And it was really a lovely moment. They were sitting there, the sun, was kind of setting, it turned golden, and the tree frogs were singing and the crickets. And I took this photo, and like so many other times with photography, you find the beautiful things and it sort of changes you as well. So after this photo, their joy was kind of contagious, and I was able to take a few good photos of the moonrise and the snake swimming in the water and a couple other really nice things. But it really made for a magical evening, and it didn't start out that way. So it was a nice place. I haven't been back since because there's so many other places to see, but I'd like to go back in a different season. And I also want to thank the Friends of the Forest Preserve for having this contest, because it's really nice. And a lot of these forest preserves farther up north I've never been to, and it kind of gives me an idea of what they have to offer. And it's nice to see other photos through other people's eyes and what draws them in, so thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Michelle.
All right, so this photo was taken on an extremely foggy day, as you can tell, and that's one of my favorite things to actually chase for. Besides lighting and photography, is also fog because it highlights everything. It gives such an interesting mood to the atmosphere, and I think that's what's really exciting about the forest preserves. Like you never know what kind of a mood you're going to get. I mean, obviously everyone feels calm or some form of peace when they're walking through, but the really cool thing is that the forest can also evoke the sense of adventure and excitement. And sometimes you don't know what to expect. Like, so animals can come in at any moment. You can see interesting patterns coming through. The sky can change instantaneously, and it does all the time. And moments like this as well, where it's just so thick and foggy, and every moment just constantly changes and has its own beauty. So it's really neat, especially like if you're feeling stuck or anything else, to just go out there and to feel some kind of excitement in your life from the environment going around. And then I think what's also really cool is that it uh, it makes you stop and kind of just watch and be patient for different changes that do occur. So we're in such a rush society, but when you're out in the woods, you don't know what to expect, and sometimes you might have an image of like what's going to go on in your head or what can pass by, which is kind of what happened here when I was just taking a picture of the regular path, which I thought was really interesting looking. You didn't, you, it's mysterious. You don't know where you're going. But then I was like, it would be really neat to see someone just kind of disappear into the fog to create that story behind what's going on. So I sat and waited, and sure enough, eventually someone came through. And I think that's just part of it. It makes you just stop and appreciate everything around you, and that's why I really like going into the woods to take photos of the environment going around.
Thank you. Next, we're going to hear from Rosie, and I'm just going to do a real brief introduction because Rosie was part of our inaugural year where we had a Best Youth Photographer category. So in 2020, we added this category and we weren't sure what we were going to get, and we were blown away. So we've continued it this year, and we just keep finding amazing youth photographers. So I'm going to let Rosie talk for herself.
I will talk about my favorite kind of photos to take. Okay. I really like taking photos of like landscapes because I find it really pretty with like the sun and all the trees and all the flowers all in one photo. And but when I do see like flowers and birds, I will take photos of them because they're very pretty too. And this one was a bird I've never seen before. I thought it would be cool to take a photo of it, and so I entered it. That's it.
Thank you, Rosie. Janet? You're on mute, Janet.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. I've been spending time in the forest preserves for a very long time. My father grew up in Arlington Heights. He was born in 1924. And when we were kids living in Arlington Heights, my parents would take us out to Deer Grove for picnic breakfast out at Deer Grove West, and which was the very first forest preserve in the country, I believe. And during some of my life, I wasn't as involved getting out because I was busy working and raising a child. But in recent years, I spend a lot of time in the forest preserves. It's my very favorite thing to do. And of course, it was wonderful during the pandemic that we still had the forest preserves available to us to, get out and get away from all the bad news we were seeing. And anyway, I also, meanwhile, in my many times visiting forest preserves, and I live right up near Lake Cook Line. So I do often go to Lake County Forest Preserves as well. And it was someone from Lake County Forest Preserves who urged me to become a dragonfly monitor, which I hadn't really thought about doing. I wanted to be a bird monitor actually, but the dragonfly monitoring organization called Odinate Survey of Illinois is you can go to any forest preserve and take shots of dragonflies. And I came to really, really love and appreciate dragonflies. They're beautiful insects. They're beautiful creatures. They are entirely positive in terms of how they interact with us because they don't sting us or bite us or pass disease. They eat a lot of mosquitoes. So, you know, they're our enemy. The enemy of our enemy is our friend. And anyway, so I do dragonfly monitoring every year, and Deer Grove is one of my locations that I always go to. And one day when I was out, this was 2 years ago, last year was a bad year because of the drought. We didn't have many dragonflies because of that. But the year before, I ran into this lovely eastern amberwing in Deer Grove East, in that little field kind of near where Smith Road would come into Deer Grove if it actually came through and didn't end at a T-square. And these are beautiful creatures. They're very noticeable because they have these golden wings. This one happens to be a female, which is mostly they look like the males, except that the female has, you know, I could be wrong. Maybe this is a male. I can't remember right now. I think it's a female though. And they have stripes, whereas the male is like just a golden, they stand out though because of their colorful wings. And anyway, just, I love the forest preserves. I plan to keep going. I go out all seasons and looking forward to dragonfly monitoring at Deer Grove again.
Thank you. Christine? Can you go
Yeah,
ahead?
so thank you. Hello, everyone. And it's an honor to be here with all of these wonderful photographers. Thank you to Friends of the Forest Preserves too for all the work you do in putting this together. This image, the story of it really began on a fall day. My husband and dog and I were walking in the Palos Woods near Bullfrog Lake on the other side, and we noticed on the side of the path we could see some water. And we went down, and I saw dried lotus pods. And until that moment, I never even knew that we had native lotus that grew, and certainly not 20 minutes from my home. So I kept going back that summer to see, you know, watching their growth, seeing when they bloom. And now every summer we go there and just enjoy the slough almost filled with these, I know they're invasive, but they're also native, with these beautiful flowers. And so I always seem to pick the hottest day, but we do see dragonflies. I hear the frogs jumping in the water and those small frogs on the plants, and just beautiful. And the forest preserves, like many people mentioned, it's just, we go there and it's to find peace. It's my therapy. Photography, nature photography is my therapy too. You can get lost, and as so many people have said, you just never know what you'll see. So thank you all. I can't wait to see the winners from this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. So now the audience is welcome to enter some questions in the Q&A box. You've learned a little bit about each photographer, about their passions, about their photograph. So if you have any specific questions for a photographer, feel free to let us know that it's for one person in particular. Otherwise, you are welcome to ask general questions for everyone, and I'll ask the panel who would like to take each question. So I'm going to leave it to Sydney to curate the questions as they come in.
Thank you. We actually have one already in the chat. It says, to all the photographers, do you exclusively take nature photos, or do you have other photography passions when it comes to photo subjects like food, people, architecture, etc.?
Michelle, do you want to start it off?
Sure thing. So I also do stock. I love taking stock photography, and I wrote this in the chat if anyone saw. But um, everything, even something simple that you wouldn't think would be that interesting, has its own beauty. And I think if you sit there and start looking at the details, that's when you can start seeing how neat certain things look, and it makes everything just come to life. So I love taking stock photography of just random products and things like that. And also I like doing still lifes and setting up and playing with light. I absolutely love light. I love playing with different types of light and different light colors. And I think that's when you can have a little bit of fun creativity, and you can actually manipulate the situation too, which is kind of different than going out into nature where you don't know what's going to happen or what the light's going to be like. So it just kind of adds a little bit of a creative flair to photography for sure.
I saw some activity in the chat from some of you talking about other things that you photographed. Does anybody else want to take on that question?
Yeah,
Maria?
so I can go ahead.
Oh, Carlos and then Maria, sure.
Thank you. Yeah, for me, I also enjoy landscape photography and cityscape photography. So I do go around Chicago, especially doing night photography. The colors are really pretty at night. So yeah, that's other types of photography that I do.
Maria?
I do actually, nature is my kind of hobby, something that I enjoy the most taking photos of. But on my regular everyday basis, I do a lot of real estate photography, houses for sale. And I also really, really enjoy taking photos of newborns and kids and families, you know, so that's a pretty variety of the photos of objects, you know, that I take pictures of, but each of them is kind of different and gives me different perspective, different view of looking at them. And also, I would say, you know, every single subject, you have to come to this by its own, you know, you can't take the same, you can't use the same methods doing newborns and doing nature or doing real estate. So I really enjoy all kind of you know, photography around me, and I wish I can take photo. If I could grab my camera and do the photos all day long.
If you are able to get photos of babies in the forest preserves, I would love that.
Yes, but not newborns practically.
No, maybe not. Jean, do you want to
kids,
take
yes, you can go with kids, and actually that's what I do sometimes with the families and kids. Yeah, you can do it.
Jean?
Yes, I was going to say, I really like to street photography. Trying to find a story that a person is telling just in that moment. I've taken a couple workshops on wedding photography to practice that. And that kind of relates to me to nature photography, you know, to find the bird perching just for that moment, or it's kind of a challenge to find just the right second. And, you know, I work downtown, so there's a lot of street photography to be had. I enjoy that as well.
Thank you. Sydney, do we have another question?
We do. Thank you all for answering that one. And that came from Edward Bowe. We have another question from an anonymous attendee asking, do any of the photographers bring a tripod or monopod out with them?
Karina?
So that's kind of a loaded answer. So I would say a tripod is necessary for landscape photography, especially if you're trying to photograph like the movement of water or a sunset or any sort of long exposure. But and I know some people use tripods for like bird photography, especially if you have a big 600mm lens. They get really heavy. But I actually think that a tripod with wildlife photography slows you down, because you're then having to move around your tripod and your camera and your lens, and then you have to change the settings. And I mean, if you're in a blind, it's useful, but I never use a tripod. If you know how to work your camera and set the settings correctly, you don't really need a tripod. I guess it just depends on the photography, but for wildlife, I never use one.
Michelle?
I think for me, and I think a lot of photographers like doing this as well, you can see a lot if you go close to the ground or if you find different angles. And with a tripod, you don't get that flexibility to do so. And I think it kind of limits you in your scope of vision. And I mean, obviously you look in front of you, you can find tons of beauty, but you miss out on a lot when you don't get close to the environment that you're interacting with too. So I think that's kind of the nice part about just being free with your camera and going close to the ground, going higher up on something, climbing maybe in weird angles that you otherwise couldn't do.
Thank you both. Carlos?
Yeah, so I agree. 95% of my wildlife photography is handheld. I have used tripods for some birds though. For example, owls, when it starts to get really dark, it's just hard to just get them, get the detail. And since they're detailed if you are handheld, so I just have to do longer exposures. And since they stay, they don't move, you can get there's a good chance that you can get a good photography of an owl if in a darker setting with a tripod. So I just bring it just in case that all happens, that I find a bird. Herons, for example, also, if they stay, if they don't move, you can get good exposure, good long exposure on a heron. And I've done some photography in the middle of rainstorms of herons. Just they stay, they don't move, and you get like really interesting things going on. So a little bit experimenting with tripod, but yeah, most of it is handheld.
Thank you for that perspective. Yeah. Maria, and then Christine.
Okay, I use tripod more for the landscape photography, especially with the sunsets, but not every single time. Just because I'm getting a little bit lazy to carry. My tripod is pretty heavy. And when I just want to go for a walk, I don't want to carry it with me. But, doing the photos of most of the close-up of flowers, I never use tripod just because I agree with Michelle 100%. It just, you just go for a different perspective. Sometimes you have to even lay down on the ground, to get the close-up or close-up of the leaf or a flower or something like this. So for this kind of photography, I never use the tripod.
I have to agree with everyone. I used to bring it with, and my husband carried it a lot, but I would lean on it more than I would use it sometimes. So unless, like I think it was Michelle said, or the moving water, Karina, I think it was you, I'm sorry, moving water, of course, when you want to capture that, slow it down, and sunsets. Other than that, it's just so nice to have that freedom to move, to get up and down, to get closer, to change your angle. So yeah, it's interesting to hear so many people that aren't tripod users. In my camera club, everybody goes out and they got their tripod, and I'm like, so yes, it limits you, but thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Oh, does someone want to add something? Or, oh, Sydney, sorry.
No, you're fine. All right, so our next question comes from Edward Bowe again. To all the photographers, when selecting your submissions, do you pick your best shot or are you strategic with what you submit? And for example, like purposely picking photos of families having fun or special or rare birds.
Jean, did you take yourself off mute because you want to answer this?
Oh, sure, I'll answer it. No, I would pick my best shots. I don't remember what else, if I entered something else in this, but I think I entered the snake in the water that came out good, and which is a pretty common sight. I would pick my best shots. There's nothing strategic about it, just the ones I think tell the story the best.
This is such a great question. I'm so curious about this as well. So if anyone else wants to take this on, please do.
I will.
Michelle. Oh, Michelle and then Janet.
Sure.
All right, so I think you absolutely do have to take into consideration what the contest is looking forward to, because I mean, there is a certain vision. However, you don't know exactly what within those categories what they're looking for. So you do want to pick something like that fits into whatever contest you are submitting to. But I think one of the most important things to focus on is not just, is it a pretty picture? Because there could be lots of pretty pictures. There are lots of you capture something that looks nice, but you want to get something that evokes some kind of a story, and that's what's going to be more captivating than just a pretty shot. And I do get feedback from other people too, so I'll pick out the ones that I really love that stand out to me, and then I try to see what other people are seeing as well. So whether I reach out to my friends or my family, I kind of pull them all in and kind of go from there, which ones stick out to certain people, and I like to get their feedback on it and what they're feeling from it. And from a few people, especially that I really trust for their opinions, it's always like, which one is something that makes you think something or makes you feel a certain way. That's what's going to stand out.
Thank you. Janet, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I would just say that for the most part, I take what I consider to be my best shots, and I take the ones that really interest me, that pull me in from a standpoint of personal interest and connection. Our nature shots, particularly birds. I love birds, and I've become very interested in insects. And so I like doing the real tight macro shots of insects. But my son, who is also a photographer, and I have periodic challenges with each other where we will decide to do, okay, we're going to do a product challenge or a people or automobiles or whatever it might be. We do those, and we also have done just a nightly posting of a photo. And for that, we try to come up with some variety. I mean, it would be, I don't necessarily always have to put out birds. And at this time of year, there aren't as many birds to see as there will be in May, and there aren't any insects to be seen. So I'm looking around for, an interesting neon light at night or something like that. So it's not my first choice, but but it's good for me. It's good for me because I have new things to consider as to how to capture the shot. So I enjoy doing those things just to branch out a little bit and learn a little bit more about how different things can be photographed.
Thank you. Jean?
Can I just add one thing? I was going to say that I agree with what everyone said about, I had said the best shot, but also narrowed to the category. For instance, obviously mine won best people in the forest preserve, and there were people. And when we're talking about telling the picture, being noticeable, tell a story or evoke a certain emotion. For instance, I just had 2 of my photos that were accepted by the Library of Congress about COVID. So you look at those photos and you know what I'm saying, and it's about COVID. It's not about anything else. So you know, you wouldn't enter a forest preserve contest and have a picture of, you know, maybe car in the parking lot or something. So I think it's true that the story the photo tells, and I think every good photo tells a story, is really important to what you enter into the contest.
Thank you. Did anyone else want to add to that? Okay, we'll move on to the next question.
Awesome. Thank you all for your answers. We have another question in the chat from Darlene Grossman, and they want to know, keeping in mind that creativity takes place in the eye of the photographer, but what camera do you prefer?
Karina?
So I'm going to expand upon that for the panel and ask what camera and lens you guys like to use. But me personally, I have a Nikon D850 with the 500 millimeter lens.
Jean?
Yes, I also have a Nikon D650, and I don't use the prime lens very much. I use the slight zoom that goes from 28 to 300.
Carlos?
So I use a Sony A7 III with a 100 to 400 G Master lens.
Christine?
I have a Nikon. It's the D7500. So not top of the line or anything, but I want to say, and I know we've all heard this, the best camera is the one you have with you. And I have my longest lens is just a 300. I do a lot of close-up work. I use a lot of lens baby lenses too, and those are my favorite for that kind of thing. So that's what I have.
Janet and then Maria.
Okay, I use a Canon 5D and I love this lens, this camera. It's a wonderful camera body. And most of the time for birds, I'm using a Sigma lens because it's a lot more reasonable than paying for the Canon lens. And it's 150 to 600. For dragonflies, I use a 100 millimeter macro. And for really, really tight close-ups of insects, I use the 65 millimeter. But I will also say I've gotten into shooting fungi this past year. I really gotten very interested in fungi and how beautiful they are. And for that, sometimes I use the 100 macro, but I'm using my cell phone a lot for those. And of course, I haven't submitted any of them for a photo contest, so I don't know if other people would think they are good, but for something small like that, and it's easy to carry around, and cell phone cameras have gotten a lot better over the years. So for what I want, which is mostly to collect different individuals from different species, it's excellent.
This is my time.
Yeah.
I use Canon 6D, and I've got a couple of lenses, but the ones that I use for my nature, I basically just for landscape and sunsets, I use wide angle 1735. And the one that I love the most and use the most is my zoom 70 to 200. This one gives me a lot of photography photos that I really enjoy, like the close-ups and flowers. So these are the majorly two lenses that I use for nature.
Thank you. Sydney, do we have another question?
We do. This one is from an anonymous attendee, and it's in regards to safety. They want to know, just out of curiosity, if you all feel safe being out in the preserves alone, and if you bring any pepper spray or anything like that to keep you safe.
The chat.
I don't
Yeah.
worry at all during the day. I've been to a lot of Cook County Forest Preserves, mostly north, and then Labatt Woods in the south, I believe, or in the city. Daytime,
Oh. I think I just muted
There we
Janet
go.
by accident. Thank you.
There we go. As I was saying, I don't worry at all really during the daytime. I feel like the forest preserves are pretty safe places. In the years that I've been out doing this, I don't go out at night, except there've been a few times when I went, and then I had my son with me. I probably would not go out at night, but we got kind of interested in shooting nighttime shots and got a few interesting things. But then, of course, I had someone else with me. I don't think I'd go out at night really anywhere to shoot. I mean, anywhere in the wilds, like in any other county forest preserves. But daytime, I don't worry at all.
I'm just going to interject before Michelle goes and just say that technically the forest preserves are closed after dark. So I know in the winter, sometimes darkness happens very early. So you might find yourself at 4:30 in the forest preserves on a winter day and it's already dark. But we don't encourage you all to go out and, at 10, 11 o'clock at night. Michelle and then Karina.
So I think with just any kind of location you are going to, you have to be aware of your surroundings, no matter what time of day you go, especially if you're going alone. Something when at least this happens to me a lot, I can get lost in the photos, lost in the moment. You're focusing on that and you kind of get desensitized to what's going on around you. And I think it's just a very good practice to always make sure that you are aware and you have some kind of form of communication with you. It's nice to go with other people for sure. And maybe not in the most secluded area for safety as well, not even just, from people, but just you never know what can happen. You don't want to be stranded somewhere on your own. So always be aware, always have communication, and get lost in the woods, get lost in the environment and what you're watching and seeing, but don't get completely lost that the world still is existing around you.
Thank you. Let's do Karina and then Carlos.
So I agree about scouting out where you go initially anyways, to kind of get a feel for your surroundings. At least for the wildlife photography I've done, it's also harder to take pictures in the dark because there's less light. So at least with nature, I mean, landscapes are one thing. Like if you're trying, or cityscapes with the light, you might be out in the dark, but I typically don't go out when it's super dark for wildlife photography anyway. So I've never really thought about I guess I've never really thought about my safety, maybe, yes, but photography is best with light, so nighttime isn't the best.
Carlos?
Yeah, for me, I'd say I feel pretty safe in terms of people that I find in the forest preserves. I have a little bit more of a concern with and I am a dog lover, but I've had a little bit of concern with like unleashed dogs, the bigger ones. So the Rottweilers, the pit bulls. So those are what worry me more. If I go to a big forest preserve, especially Kane or Whale counties outside of Cook, there's more of them that allow for dogs to be in the preserve, and some of the folks don't leash their dogs. And so again, the bigger dogs, I've known of people that have gotten in trouble with unleashed dogs, got bitten by pit bulls. So again, not all pit bulls are bad. They're adorable as any other pets, but if their owners don't leash them, that's where I find that I could get in trouble.
Thank you. Sydney, do we have another question?
We do. Thank you to all the panelists for your answers on that. We have another question from Arthur Krumray. And the question reads, have any of the photographers used a phone as a camera?
I think some of you mentioned that you do. So maybe we can expand that to what are some of the pros and cons of using your phone as a camera? Jean, you want to start us off?
Sure, I'm probably the exception. I think I have an iPhone 10. I take it if I have nothing else. I know people take great photos with their phone. I've seen it. I can't figure it out. The clarity and especially the pixels are always awful for me. I rarely get a phone that I can view in a large size. It's probably my fault for not, learning it more. But I guess I just don't have the desire to because I have my other camera.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel for you. I have a camera for the first time in my life that can actually take decent photos. And so I've been taking hundreds of photos with my camera. Does anybody else want to take on that question? Pros and cons of your cell phone camera? Michelle?
Well, I mean, with the DSLR, you're going to have a higher resolution that will allow you for like publication and things like that. So, I mean, that's just the nature of what a phone camera is limited to and what a DSLR camera is limited to, and the sensors and everything else involved in that, in the DSLR. It depends on what you're looking to do with the photos. You can still print gorgeous photos from a phone, and especially with the newer models, you've got more settings on there. They're way more sensitive to light, and they can allow for better captures of light. But then with a DSLR, you can shoot in RAW. You can edit the photos to like, it's not saying to overexpose the photo or anything like that, or detract from what it actually looked like, but you have more control over what the actual lighting of the scenario was like and what the colors were like than with a phone camera. If you're doing it just for capturing a memory, you just want to make sure that you just want to look back through those photos for reliving that moment, a phone camera is completely fine. So it kind of depends on what you intend to do with those photos. If you want to just print them for an album that you have, a phone camera will be great for that. But you want to go for the newer cameras or the newer phone cameras. And you want to also do your research on which phones have better cameras, because some of them are more known to take better photos.
We have time for one more question. So Sydney, do we have one more question, or does someone want to enter one in the chat or in the Q&A, not the chat?
Yeah, we had another question about camera lenses by someone that came in late. So we already kind of answered that one, sorry. But it is recorded, so you can see the answers later. But we had one more. It says, can any of you recommend photography classes in the area or online? Also, maybe groups that go out and learn in the field. Would be great to go with the group and learn from others.
It's a great question. Jean?
Yes. I took half of the courses required to get my degree in photography from the College of DuPage. They have an absolutely fabulous program, both for a very, very beginner and up to becoming a professional. They're very nice, very teach you everything you'd ever want to know. I really enjoyed going there. And there are a lot of places online to also learn. There's a guy named Tim, I think his name is Shields, that has classes online and workshops that are free. And then, of course, you can buy stuff if you want to, but I really think if you really want to take some classes, I really got so much out of the College of DuPage. I really loved it. And I hope that, I can go back in time and finish my degree.
Thank you, Jean. Karina?
So there's actually a facility called the Richard Stromberg Photography or School for Photography. It's over in Ravenswood. You can take basic photography courses, but they also have workshops for like long exposures, portraits, printing. It's very impressive what all they have. So those classes are nice. And then there's actually, if you've ever been on meetup.com, there are actually planned in the Chicago area where they'll send out event invites for people to meet up at certain places just to take pictures of things. So like 2 weeks ago, there was one at the University of Chicago taking pictures of like their campus and stuff. So there's, and then you get to also meet other people in the area like that enjoy photography and get feedback and talk with them. But Chicago has a lot of photography options. Getting involved with that kind of stuff.
When I was at the Chicago Botanic Garden this past summer, there was a class going on. So, and they did have tripods. So
yeah, actually, I think they have like a program where you can get not a degree, but like some sort of certification in different types of photography for landscape or macro and different stuff like that. It's, I think, fine art as well. So yeah, it's lots of different options.
Does anybody want to add to that before we wrap up? And okay, I won't put you on the spot. That was a really great question to land on or to end with, because we do hope that some of you are inspired to move forward with your hobby or career as a photographer. So yes, there are lots and lots of opportunities. Perhaps I can gather some information and send out in an email some of those resources for all of you. So maybe look for that in the future. So moving on. Thank you all so much, by the way. I've really loved this event since it's gone virtual, because I get to know you as individuals as well as your stories, and just the information about your photos is so valuable and helps me appreciate them all the more. So thank you so much for sharing that. I know a lot of you are really excited to see the winners of the 2021 photo contest. I'm going to click the next slide and cross my fingers that the timing works out as planned. So without further ado, here are the winners.
El tiempo sigue cambiando, hay oruguitas, no se aguanta más, hay que crecer, partir y volver, hacia adelante seguirás, vienen milagros, vienen crisálidas, hay que partir y construir su propio futuro, hay oruguitas. No se aguanta más, hay que crecer, aparte y volver. Hacia adelante seguirás, vienen milagros, vienen crisálidas. Hay que partir y construir su propio futuro. Tus oruguitas desorientadas, lentos capullos bien abrigadas, con sueños nuevos. Ya solo falta hacer lo necesario. El mundo que sigue cambiando, tumbando sus paredes. Ahí viene nuestro milagro, nuestro milagro, nuestro milagro, nuestro milagro. Hay mariposas, no se aguanten más. Hay que crecer, aparte y volver. Hacia adelante seguirás, ya son milagros. Rompiendo crisálidas, hay que volar, hay que encontrar su propio futuro. Hay mariposas, no se aguanten más, hay que crecer, aparte y volver. Hacia adelante seguirás, ya son milagros. Rompiendo crisálidas, hay que volar, hay que encontrar su propio futuro. Hay mariposas, no se aguanten más, hay que crecer, aparte y volver. Hacia adelante seguirás, ya son milagros. Rompiendo crisálidas, hay que volar, hay que encontrar su propio futuro.
Gets emotional. Many of you talked about telling a story and evoking emotion. And I just think that is so true with all of these photos that we've seen tonight. So thank you so much to all of the contest winners and to everyone who submitted photos. It was a really just such a pleasurable experience to see all of your photos. So before we wrap up, I just want to talk about how you can enter the 14th annual photo contest. We do have, we are taking submissions till December 31st, 2022. You can visit fotfp.org/photo-contest for all the rules. I would suggest that you browse through the previous winning photos. Now, not only will you be inspired by these other photos, but you might notice some gaps, some things that were missing. So if you don't see your favorite animal, your favorite site, or your favorite flower, then go out and take a picture of those things and submit them to us. As you'll see in the rules, we will eliminate any photos that have an invasive species predominantly featured. So if you're not sure, if you take a photo and it has a lot of species and you think one of them, the one that is prominently displayed, might be invasive, go ahead and send it to us. We have no problem screening, and if it will be eliminated, we'll let you know, and then you can submit something else. Also, encourage young people in your life, those who are 18 or younger, to submit photos. We have been blown away by the submissions over the past 2 years, but we also know that getting young folks out into the forest preserves doing photography not only helps them enjoy nature, but might foster a new hobby as a photographer. And lastly, we really always need photos of people in the forest preserves. So if you don't know where to start, go out and photograph your friends, photograph your family, photograph all the people you know having so much fun in the forest preserves. We want to see people enjoying the forest preserves and all the various activities that one can do in the forest preserves. And then lastly, if you'd like to learn more about Friends of the Forest Preserves, you can go to fotfp.org. Feel free to also email me, Ilana Fetterman, or Benjamin Cox, the executive director. We'll respond directly to you. So there's definitely ways to get in touch with us to find out more. I'm going to let Janet ask, maybe share a thought or ask a question before we go.
Lana, that last slideshow of the winning photos for the for 2021, I believe it was, went by so quickly. Are you going to be posting that? I think a friend of mine might have one, and I'd like to take a look.
Yes, thank you for asking. I will be posting all of those photos on our website shortly, within the week for sure. I will also be promoting the winners across social media and through email. So there'll be lots of reminders, whether you follow us on social or you get our email blast. If you aren't in touch with us through either of those mediums, then you can always go to fotfp.org and all of those photos will be posted.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I will say that I'm going to try to do the first slideshow again to see if I can get that timing so that the recording of this can have the proper timing. So anyone who wants to stay on is welcome. We've got about 6 minutes. You're also welcome to leave. Thank you all so very much. I really appreciate my panelists, the audience, my co-hosts. Thank you for another wonderful evening.
Thank you, Alana.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
And if you're sticking with me for that second slideshow, bear with me. All right, let's see. Just in case, I'll have a backup.
I think it's time we found a way back home. You lose so many things to love as you grow. I miss the days when I was just a kid. My fear became my shadow, I swear it did. Wherever is your heart, I call home. Wherever is your heart, I call home. Though your feet may take you far from me, I know. Wherever is your heart, I call home. You made me feel like I was always falling down without a place to land. Somewhere in the distance, heard you calling. Oh, it hurts so bad to let go of your hand. Wherever is your heart, I call home. Wherever is your heart, I call home. Though your feet may take you far from the unknown. Wherever is your heart, I call home. Even when you're high, you can't get low. Even with your friends you love, you're still alone. We always find the darkest place to go. God forgive our minds, we were born to roam. Wherever is your heart, I call home. Wherever is your heart, I call home. Though your feet may take you far from the unknown. Wherever is your heart, I call home. Oh God, forgive my mind. Oh God, forgive my mind when I come home. When I come home. Oh God, forgive my mind. There's a road that's long and wide that hollers home. I'm calling low. Oh God, forgive my mind. Oh God, forgive my mind when I come home. When I come home. Oh God, forgive my mind. Oh God, forgive my mind when I come home. When I come home. Wherever is your heart, I call home. Wherever is your heart, I call home. Though your feet may take you far from the home. Wherever is your heart, I call home. Wherever is your heart, I call home. Wherever is your heart, I call home. Though your feet may take you far from the home. Wherever is your heart, I call home.
And that's how it was meant to be. Thank you all so much for sticking with me. Again, such a pleasure. Everyone have a wonderful night.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thanks, Ilana.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.